Yet.
Hello, welcome to Empower Hour. This is where myself, come to bring you inspiration, empowerment, and a little practical magic for your life and work. So, today we are talking all about habit formation, habit stacking, and of course, we've got the magic hat where we're going to talk about who knows whatever comes out of the hat. And we are going to tell you about our special guest next week. We have Johanna, who is also known as Mama Cuisine. Molly will tell you more about that at the end. And we'll have a few other fun updates for you. So stay tuned and let's get going.
Yes. Sorry, I had the mic on mute, so I'm back. I'm here.
Hooray!
I'm actually looking forward to today because we're going to talk about a couple things we're reading as well, and it has to do with mindset. And I think we're going to talk about the one that the book that neither of us finished on purpose, right? Yes. Okay. Cool. Because I think that that's an important one about reading, and not necessarily even the subject matter of the book, which is indeed important. But we're also going to talk a little bit about why we did not read this particular book, and if that helps people with giving permission to not reading. I'm not sure.
Uh-oh, I think we lost Molly's audio there for a second. Uh-oh, we can't hear Molly. Oh no, I started coughing because I started choking on my soda. This is why I don't drink soda. So I had to take myself off screen. But I still can't hear Molly. Oh gosh. But yes, as she was saying, there's a book that we were both reading, and it's called The Men Who Hate Women. And it is probably a great book, but we can't we decided that we couldn't just couldn't continue reading it in the current climate. So
How about now? Can you hear me?
she's back. There she
Jeez
is.
Louise.
And yeah, so we had decided that even though it is probably a great book, it sounds like it was from everything that we read about it, everything about the description about the book, covering important topics that we do want to dive into at some point. It's just too much right now. So decided, Molly and I talked about it. I think you brought it up first. You're like, I just couldn't. And I'm like, girl, me too. I got like literally 17 minutes into it. And I was like, this is too heavy for right now, for the times of the world that we're in right now. Molly, what was your reaction? What were you starting to say before we had some little tech
Well,
flop?
basically, I think that sometimes people should themselves to death, so to speak, and they do things like finish books that they really don't want to, because they feel like I should do this, I should finish it, and no, you don't necessarily have to, especially if you're going against your core, and if there's something in your core that's like sending up the spidey signals or sending up the nope, this isn't gonna be good for me, it's completely fine to stop. And that has to do with, reading a book, or, following through with a job or a relationship or whatever. I mean, really, really, really just get really good at listening to yourself and trusting it. That voice is there for a reason, which is not really about habit stacking, which is one of the other things we're going to talk about today. So
Yeah, but yeah,
sure,
we
you're
like
the
to talk about the books that we're reading. And so
yeah.
also a great example of, well, we tried and neither of us could do it. There's only I really like your point about, we feel like if we start something like that, we have to finish it. I think that goes into well, a lot of societal things, of societal pressure of, finish what you started, hustle, don't be a quitter, all of those messages and like
Quitters
listen.
never win. Quitters never win.
Yeah,
Oh,
listen,
I can't
sometimes quitting's
stand
the
that.
best thing you can do for yourself. Like companies have things called exits, right? And like sometimes there's career transitions and voluntary ones, not just involuntary ones. And those can be some of the best exits in your life. So I will all that said though, that is only the second book I did not finish. And like with the intention, I have plenty of unfinished books, but this is the second with the intention of like I'm not picking this back up for a while or maybe ever. This one, however, I do want to eventually pick back up. The other one was Girl Wash Your Face by Rachel Hollis, and I don't with her. I just don't. Yeah, I couldn't finish that book at all. We don't have to talk about that one. But if anyone wants to talk about that one with me, or hear the background on that, I'm more than happy to share. But that's a derailment from this conversation.
I have thoughts about Girl Wash Your Face, but I'm not going to
Oh,
go
did
into
you
that.
read it too?
I did not read it for a very good reason, but I'm not going to go into that reason now because it's totally going off we're not even on a show right now, or we're
That's
so
fine.
far off the schedule, it's not even funny. But
Well,
that's actually a conversation. That's a conversation for another show, honestly,
I
because
was
it has
gonna
to do with
say, I was like, tune in next week.
authenticity. Yeah, it's very much an authenticity conversation.
Yeah, look at that.
And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, tangents. I'm a fan of our tangents, so we just came up with content for next week. So great. But today we are talking. Oh, did you want to say anything else about the Men Who Hate Women book, Molly? Before we move on.
Basically, it's just that, as someone who is online and who has fielded her own share of people sending me pictures of their genitalia, people putting me on lists that say this person is a CUNT, and people who are putting me on lists of this person doesn't deserve to live, and I actually have a real life stalker. It's just like, you know what? I already lived this book. I really don't want to immerse myself in it. I'm just gonna because of everything else that's going on in the world. I thought, you know what? I'm not voluntarily going to marinate in this particular topic right now because I'm living this particular topic. It's the same reason I didn't watch Succession, and it's the same reason I didn't watch Man in High Castle, because I'm just like, oh my God, or The Handmaid's Tale, because it's like, we're living it. I don't need to read it. I want to read escapism for a second. Just give me some good old-fashioned, Pride and Prejudice, or who knows what. I don't know, but I'm not going to marinate in the stuff it's like getting out of a shower and drying off with a towel that's been sitting in your toilet. It's wet. So what's the point?
Literal wet blanket.
Yep.
Yeah, when I forget when Men Who Hate Women actually came out. I know it was at least a couple years ago. I probably could have gone through it without problem. Well, minimally maybe at that point, but not in March of 2025. Thank you. Or actually, we were in February at the time. So, anyways, let's talk about habits.
I love habits.
I love habits too. I love most habits. I'm trying to think of like if I took like a quick survey of my own habits. I'd like to think that right now, as the person I am today, I am proud of most of the habits that I have. Me a year ago, me 5 years ago, me 10 years ago, probably not. It would probably be a different percentage, but I think, yeah, the more I learn about the brain and the more I learn about why we do the things we do and how we're wired, and the more I apply that in both my life and in the lives of our clients, it's habit loop of its own. So to speak.
The thing about habits for me is that I view them as scaffolding, or not scaffolding, but the stud work. If you imagine like a building that's going up or a house that's going up, and you've got the scaffolding, or not I keep going scaffolding surrounds, but like the trusses and the
like a foundation. Yeah.
Yeah. And so the habit that you construct, and that's basically one of the points of circuitry in your brain, is daily habits that cultivate resilience, is that your habits can either serve you or sink you. And so we were going to talk a little bit about habit stacking, and then I have a kind of a pivot on habit. It's not really habit stacking, but if you really think about the way that your habits form the framework of your life, and by making adjustments to them, you can literally change your life, because you're basically replicating, you're creating a pattern that perpetuates itself. And you have to think to yourself, when you take a review of your habits, what are you perpetuating? What are you establishing? Because the longer you're in a habit, the more it has a chance to reinforce itself and to really, gain traction in your life. And then, what was the other thing that I was going to say about habits? Is that I think a lot of times people inherit habits that they don't even know that they have. And so that could be something like, you might do a specific thing that your mom did, or your dad did, or your brother did, or your boss does, or whatever. And it's not even your habit, but it's something that you've adopted because of your proximity to another person, which is why it's so very important to be aware of who your friends are, because your friends are going to influence your habits and your behavior as well, in areas and in ways that you're not even going to be aware of.
Yeah, aren't we? Isn't the study about like we are the summation of the 5 people we're around most? And
That was Jim Rohn, I believe, had a quote about that specifically, but I'm sure he's not the only person to
yeah,
have come up with that 5 persons orbit type of analogy.
and I don't know, something similar but different. This is related to weight. But if you have, if like one of those close people in your proximity are obesely overweight, like grossly overweight, um, it increases your percentage of also becoming obese, like more morbidly obese, by an X factor. And I can't remember how much that factor is, but I remember being very surprised at how high the likelihood was of that.
So, quick interjection
Yeah.
that doesn't have to do with habits, but does have to do with associations,
Mm.
is that so many people, women in particular,
Mhm.
ask me how I know, will choose a mate or choose a partner from a perspective of falling in love with or being attracted to their potential, with
Oh.
the understanding that I can fix him or I can save that person. Oh, wait a minute.
Yeah. Yeah. Molly definitely is spot on there. And I realize that is something I have fallen prey to as well. Not always, but.
Well, the thing with that is that statistically speaking, in this particular instance, I can cite it's an actuarial type of thing that has to do with credit scores. And they showed, because I used to sell cars, that's one of the things I used to do, is that the credit score, let's say that 750 starts dating 450, 750 score will start to lower. You're not going to pull 450 up into the 750 stratosphere. You're going to be the one who lowers. And I'm not saying that, because heaven knows you should see my credit score now. It's being a founder in a big city. It's a half. But my point is, and I also do want to say that you are your credit score. That's absolutely not what I'm saying.
No.
What I'm saying is, in terms of statistics and actuarial and averages and people who will, I also do this a lot, is I wait for someone to catch up to me. I wait for someone, oh, come on, I want you to succeed. I want you to do well. I know you've got it in you. I can see it. And what happens is what happens.
Yeah.
I'll just say I'm not going to put this on anyone else, but the person who's doing the waiting, it's their forward momentum that's arrested. Because the other person, you can't save anyone else. They have to want it. And this is not even talking about habits, but I think that, I don't even know where we got on with this topic. Where did we get on this topic? This is like the second tangent. I think we're on.
Okay.
We should have what
We should have a tangent counter.
Exactly. We need to have the tangent tote board. How far do they go off topic here?
Oh my God, I can make that.
I think we should, because I think we're on 2 so far.
Yeah. I mean, I
But
don't
they're
know.
great tangents, I
Y'all
hope.
tell us. I forgot to mention this at the top of the intro that if you have questions for us or want to participate in the conversation, do pop into the comments and I will keep an eye out for them. I will be able to see them throughout the show. And if you're catching the replay of this, we'll follow up and keep an eye out for your comments as well. So if we don't get you while we're live, we will either address it on our next episode or as a separate video. So
Yeah.
So yes. So yes, we were talking about falling in love with someone's potential.
Yep.
And something about the wiring of our brains related to habits. But I wanted to talk quickly about, before we get too much further into like habit stacking, which I know is the crux of our conversation this evening. I thought it was important to talk about, like, set the foundation of like what the heck even is a habit. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to see if it's going to let me. Yay! Oh, good. Hooray for technology actually working. So I love this graphic for talking about the habit loop. And there's three main components to any habit. First of all, you have a trigger, something to initiate the idea of like, oh, I have to go do this thing. In this case, it's, I'm a tired person. And then it's like, I'm going to go to my coffee pot and I'm going to go make some coffee and I'm going to have some coffee. And then the result of that is the reward of I'm no longer tired. So this is a very oversimplified version of it. So we have the trigger is number one, the actual behavior of the habit itself. And the third component is the actual reward itself. Another way to think about this is just in two steps, is that you have a why or a will. I've heard it, a will and a way. And what that means is your why. Why are you even doing this habit? So it's like your motivation. And it could be intrinsic. It could be I'm going to buy a new bag. I don't know. Or in my case, maybe a backpack. I love backpacks. I don't carry purses most of the time, but you show me a backpack and I'm probably in for it. Anyways, especially if it can fit my laptop. Anyways, and then if you have a way, which is not just the behavior itself, and Molly is probably going to touch on this part a little bit more, but you actually have planned out the steps in order to achieve that, in this case, coffee habit, right? So in my case, just to give an example, I love yoga. If you've been following along, you've probably picked that up by now. Molly, I'm going to mute you just because of background noise for now. I wanted to start getting truly into yoga. And so I found a studio near me, and a friend actually invited me. This is how I found the studio. So this was actually by accident. And then I was like, oh, I forgot how much I like this, and decided that, okay, I'm going to try to go. Because I had this ridiculous special for New Year's. Thank God. And that was my will, that was my why of like, oh, I actually enjoy this. So the reward is me being a lower cortisol person. And, I don't know, Molly, hopefully I've been easier to work with after doing yoga, as much as I have been. I'm gonna try to unmute you, see if you can chime in. Okay, great. And then
I'm gonna be negative about this in a second whenever you're done.
Great. Okay, great. I welcome it. And then, but in order to actually stick with it, I've had to plan backwards of how long does it take me to, like, first of all, when can I actually take the class? How long is it going to take me to walk there or take the bus there? How long is it going to then take me to get ready before I even have to leave? And granted, it's yoga, so that's quick. What am I going to wear to yoga? Generally easy, yoga pants and a tank top, right? Generally. Is it clean? What bra? um, all of that. So that's the way. So there's the will to want to do it, the reason, what's the reward I'm going to get. So that's a little bit twofold there. And then my actual plan to do it. So if you don't have any of that, especially us ADHDers, we go woo in so many different directions and derail ourselves. But for neurotypical people, it's this graphic, and it's the trigger, the behavior, and the reward. And thus concludes your foundational discussion on what a habit is.
Okay, so now I'm going to go and I'm going to be the negative Nelly because I
Yeah.
want to say these things because I want to put a bug in the ear of someone who may be watching who does not know that they're reacting without knowing that they're reacting.
Should I leave the graphic up?
Oh, sure.
Will be helpful. Okay.
These types of things will be people who might, and I'm going to say it, there are people who are victims, but they don't know that they're victims, and they operate from a victimhood mentality. And so their habits are baked in dysfunctional behaviors. So it could be, a trigger could be someone is upset with you, and so your behavior is to be passive aggressive, or you might have another thing where you do something that's a behavior, and your reward is uh, oh, Molly's so brave, she has to put up with blah 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 blah, and so my reward is that sympathy from other people. Or, oh my gosh, Molly's married to a terrible person, and every time she has to put up with blah blah blah, she does this, which is her habit and her behavior, which engenders other people saying things like, oh, she's so brave, or blah blah blah. That is a habit as well. So I just wanted to be negative and mention that sometimes people fall into habits that are, again, they might not even be their habit. They might be reenacting a habit from a family. It could be your mother, it could be your father, it could be something that's passive aggressive, it could be something like that. So I always want to encourage people to really examine the types of things that they do on a day-to-day basis that may or may not be advancing their greatest health or advancing their goals or whatever. And I don't know if we've lost Christine. I see, yay, she is there.
Yeah, I was just giving you the floor.
Oh my gosh, heavens. So I mean, I guess my point on habits is to just really be mindful of which ones you're choosing and which ones you're using. Because a habit that does not serve you is one that is eroding you. So just please, please, please be mindful. And if you at the very beginning, it seems like a lot. It seems like a lot to have to go, what did I do today? How did I spend my time? Blah, 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 blah. But this in and of itself is a habit that you can start to cultivate by at like 9 o'clock at night. If you are like an ADHD, I've never been formally diagnosed, but I have built so many rigid structures into my life to make sure that I get some things done that need to be done. It's possible. But my point is that create a habit. 9 o'clock at night. What's your daily review? What did I do? What was my favorite thing about today? What was a lesson I learned? What's something that, whatever. But those types of things will help you to look at your habits. And if you find yourself after like a week of doing that and you're like, what in the flip did I do this week? More than likely, you're sleepwalking through your life. More than likely, you are running on autopilot and doing a lot of habits that don't serve you. So in case of, looking at a future you perspective, and what we would say to a client is to say, really examine what it is that you say you want to do and what are you actually doing, and where is the alignment there or the misalignment, because those areas are the points of your life where you can change and have huge gains just by tweaking small little things. And so yeah, that's a big deal. About, are you using a habit, or are you, is it
enabling the negative habit? I absolutely love that example. I think that's such a perfect example. I was trying to think of another word other than example, but I think it's such a perfect example of how we can let these programs just automatically run in our OS of our brain and without even realizing it. And that's why in our own aligned method, the first letter A is for awareness. And that runs so core, talking about the trusses and the scaffolding and stuff like that, like of your habits, being aware and having that awareness of like what you're doing, how you're thinking,
Why
all of
you're doing it?
while you're doing it is
No, no,
so
not while.
fundamental.
Why?
Or
Why?
why you're doing it, yes,
But
or
why
that
is
you're, well,
important?
even just that you're doing it, even before that, like it's you gotta like you've got to acknowledge the, I mean, A could also be acknowledged, but that it even exists, because if it's a blind spot for you and you don't know it until someone like calls it out, you're never going to change it. I mean, it's unlikely that you would change it, at least willingly.
So I do want to get into habit stacking, but
Yeah.
I also wanted to mention something. Um, if you, after again, we go through those, let's say a week of what did I do today, and you end up thinking that you went through your life in a fog, one of my ways to get around that is to send out an email to 5 of your nearest and dearest friends or relatives who love you and say, what are things that you think I'm doing well? What are things you think I could be doing differently? And whatever. And then listen to them. And more than likely, if they, again, they have to be people who love you and want the best for you. And they're going to give you a pretty good 360. They're going to be your blind side. They're going to say, you know what, Molly, you are really, really awesome at listening to people, but you're really, really bad at XYZ. You know, it could be whatever. And they'll tell you, but they're not going to tell you so that they can break you and hurt your feelings. They will say, you know what, I want
Mhm.
the best for Molly. And so
Yeah.
she asked me, I'm going to tell her. And those are things that you can take to heart
Mhm.
and implement or not. You might say, you know what, I like this thing about me, and or whatever. But my point is
I
that that's a really good way to get awareness if you yourself are not aware.
Yeah, I absolutely love that exercise. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because it's such a powerful one. And it can be scary because sometimes we don't want that feedback, right? It's like, what are you going to get back? And I have done that. Granted, it's been years and I probably should do it again. Um, I probably will.
I've done
But
it for other people. That's
we'll
why I
see.
use it. Is I've had a couple people who are in job transition, and they sent that out to me, and they're like, Molly, lay it out on the line. Let me know. Give me,
Yeah.
give it to me straight. And I was
Yeah.
honored. I was honored that they would
Oh,
choose me to be one of those, what I
mhm.
call mirrors. I
Mm.
was honored. So
Yeah, absolutely. So don't go through, like, because I'm glad you said that, because one of the things that I was hesitant in doing it was I don't want to bother anybody, right? Like, people pleaser, right? Reforming people pleaser. Like, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to bother anybody. Like, are they even gonna like respond? And I got back some like really nice stuff. I did get like critical feedback, which is the point, right? But I was really, and it was all helpful. And it was like they were all like soft people that were soft landings, so to speak. And but I got some like really lovely, heartfelt, touching feedback too, which I was not expecting. I was expecting it to all be, the critical stuff, which, because that's what I was asking for. But yes, so Molly, you wanted to talk about how you approach your version of habits.
well, wait a second.
Yep.
So
Spring in Chicago, the
yeah.
motorcycles.
Well, it's so nice out.
It
You know,
is. It was
it
gorgeous
was
out.
freezing and snowing yesterday, and it's night. So I thought, you know what, I'm going out today. So I ended up out, and I didn't realize what time it was. Anyway, so I wanted. Oh, wait a minute.
Uh-oh.
Go and talk about the traditional habit stacking.
Okay, great. So traditionally, the more traditional. So like if you've read a fantastic book on this is The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. I believe it was his first New York Times bestseller. Fantastic book. I haven't read it in a while, but the entire idea in a nutshell is, if you already have a habit, let's use coffee as the example. Like, I already drink a cup of coffee, or four, uh, two. It's really just two, um, in a very large mug. I have my cups of coffee in the morning. I start before I start swapping away, and then while I'm, working, and after. Don't judge me. After I brush my teeth, So I have the coffee, and then when I'm done with the coffee, then I brush my teeth, because I know that some people think that you're supposed to brush your teeth first and then have your coffee. But I'm like, why am I going to brush my teeth and then like stank up my breath? Anyways, so it's the idea of like, I already have an established routine. I already have an established habit. I'm going to just throw one in. The hard part is remembering that you're throwing it in, but you have a higher success rate if you just add on instead of just try to throw it in willy-nilly at, like, I don't know, 3:05 p.m. with no input.
So the thing about keeping those habit stacking, that particular model of habit stacking working, is pairing it with something that is a complement, is a natural complement. So very small example. So like if you forget to floss, if you don't floss, I floss because I had braces as an adult that I had to pay for. So I'm telling you right now, you bet your butt I flossed. But if it's something that you normally don't do, flossing when you brush your teeth is a natural habit stack. So to make it easy on yourself, try to
Lighting after coffee, not so congruent.
One of the weird things about coffee is once I've brushed my teeth, I don't drink coffee until the next day because I had a really great boss but had terrible coffee breath.
Yeah.
And so every time, so that's just one of my mental, and it could be, that's a great, actually, that's a good thing, Christine, to mention, is that everyone has their own very specific triggers and reminders of why this is important to them.
Yes.
So that's why I never drink coffee after I've brushed my teeth, because I remember that particular manager who, again, great person, horrible breath. And I was just like, I don't want to be that for someone else. So, but what I do for habit stacking is habit bunching. It's not stacking as much as it is, I call it the Thanksgiving dinner approach. And by that, I mean, when you're creating a big meal and you look at what's the longest thing that needs to cook and what other things can I nest inside it, it's almost like the Russian doll type of mentality of what other things can fit inside this time. And it's something I do a lot as someone who's self-employed. So in the morning, I will start a load of laundry and then go schedule content. And so I'm basically getting the laundry is churning and doing its thing while I'm doing something else. And that's just a really great time management tool. It's not habit stacking per se, but it's, again, habit bunching. But if you really are someone who says, I never have enough time to get everything done, oh my gosh, I'm always running, blah, 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 look and see what things that are on your schedule that can be nested. What are things that can be running concurrently so that you can free up some of that time? Because the other thing is that once you get really good at this, you will be able to find pockets of time to do things that you really like to do. That could be spending 5 minutes on an app that teaches you another language, or it could be 5 minutes of, meditation or whatever. But if you're always doing, oh my God, I'm so busy, get up, and you're running around like this, it's like, well, take a look at how you're spending your time. Yeah. Are you pissing away your time? One of the few times my grandmother would swear. I know, she didn't swear a lot. And then, I mean, I do once in a while. I swear when I do, I swear with velocity and accuracy. But, but if you're frittering away your time and you feel as if you never have enough time, yeah, you do. More than likely, you're farting right away. You're pissing it away. So just really do a look at your time and see how you can reallocate the energy you're expending. And that was one of the things we talked about, I think, last week with Anita Morjani about her life force energy analogy. Is like, how much of your energy are you just kind of thrown away like, Tootsie Rolls in a parade? I don't know if when I grew up in a small town where they basically would throw candy in the street and kids would eat it.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, whatever.
I didn't attend a lot of parades as a kid. But it's like, really look at what you're doing and where are you spending your time. And this is also part of the alignment model in terms of how you align your energy expenditure. But you have more time than you think you do. So, for sure.
I'm gonna go back on mute.
Yeah, and, well, I was gonna say that anytime someone tells me I haven't had time, and it's like, I don't want to be the asshole and and say it's because you're not making time, because that can be an asshole thing to say, especially when someone is stressed out. Don't say that, but I do I do often think it. I will admit that. What I do actually say instead is, tell me what's going on with you. Like what I get curious and I try to get to like, well, what's at the heart of it? And it's like sometimes people just want you to listen, which is awesome. Make sure you ask that. Do you want me to help you solve it, or do you want me to help you find time, or do you just want to vent, so to speak? So I don't ask that outright either, but I find my way of like, well, wow, what's going on right now? And then, I'll ask like, was there something I can help with, or some variation of that. Anyways, so yes, I love your, what were you calling it? Task nesting?
Yeah, it's more of a nesting than it is habit stacking, but it's again looking at how you can be more economical with the time that you spend so that you can make sure that you have enough left over for fun, for that matter. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, do you remember the movie or the play, The Cheaper by the Dozen?
I've heard of it. I'm not
No.
good at having watched
Well,
movies. I'm a bad person to ask.
it's basically the protagonist is this guy who's had boatloads of kids, and he's super efficient about everything, like Captain Stopwatch. And everyone thinks it's because he's super rigid about everything and very structured and regimental, but it's because he has the disease he's gonna die early. So he
Oh,
wants to make
Jesus.
sure that he spends as much of his time as possible on things that really matter to him.
Wow.
And so for me, as someone who had, my kids, I had 3 kids, one in grade school, one in middle school, one in high school. I was serving on 5 boards. I was employed full time at a newspaper. I was extremely efficient.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I'm dead inside. It meant that I was extremely efficient because I wanted to make sure that I knew where my wiggle room was. I knew where I could have some play in my schedule for doing things that were not scheduled, so to speak.
Yeah.
Anyway, art is
Yeah.
discipline, freedom is another great quote on that.
Oh, can you say that again? Oh, well, while while the train passes by, the joys of living in a city, and having an overhead train called the L, which, by the way, is the letter L. It's not EL. That's Spanish for the. Um, I will die on that hill.
That's because it's a good hill. That's actually why.
Thank
It
you.
is. It is just the letter L.
Go to
What's,
cta.com.
but what's
and
so really
talk.
weird is that it is called the elevated train,
Yes.
but it's the L. So just it's one of those Chicago things, like don't put ketchup on a tomato on a hot dog,
Ugh.
because don't. But the
Don't take
quote
my
was,
Chicago card away, but I always do. But anyways,
"What?
or I'll
I can't be your business partner anymore. Are you kidding me? What do you? What is it? What's with this? All right, fine, but just never let me see you eat a hot dog. Fair?"
First it was the movies, then
Yeah,
it
that's
was
true.
ketchup on
No,
a.
the quote that I mentioned was, "It's art is disciplined freedom," and I can't remember who said it.
Art is disciplined freedom. I'm gonna Google that. One
Yeah,
moment,
Google
please.
that, because it was something that I saw I was a docent in an art gallery a long time ago, and that was one of the things. It was one of the favorite quotes of the engineer who basically paid for the art gallery. Or donated buttloads of money for the art gallery. But art is disciplined freedom was his favorite quote, which of course he's an engineer. It stands to reason. But it's a great quote, and it also reminds me of jazz in terms
Ooh,
of that managed chaos and,
like scatting.
well, that and just understanding where the rules are. Oh, gotta go. Wait a second. I'm
Yeah,
here,
that's
but
okay.
I'm muting.
If I'm making a funny face, it's because I'm not finding this quote right away. I'm seeing stuff about discipline equals freedom from David M. Kessler Fine Art, but and Kristen Catch about disciplined freedom, the art of creating with structure. But I can't find that exact quote. I would love to
I'll have to Google it. I'll have to see if I
start
can.
tangent number 3.
There we go.
We've got next week's show already lined up. Look, we got 3 topics we can talk about.
Kidding.
But no, that's a fantastic quote. I love that because it's so true that like I hate. Oh God! Well, first of all, I hate hating things. It's a waste of energy. I dislike that these are blank canvases. They're actually doors that I painted white, but I dislike very much that they're white, and they've been white for at least 6 years, maybe more. It's hard to start with a blank page is where I'm going with this. So like whether it's a blank page of words with no words on it because you're trying to write something. This is why I love ChatGPT, because it's like, give me some ideas, and I'm like, no, that's terrible. Here, now I can write. Or sometimes it's good, and I'm like, okay, I need to zhuzh it because it's not human. But like these have been blank for so long because I have too many options, and I have too many ideas of what to paint on here. And I know though that if I just start, I will start at least going down a path, which is also confining. However, there is freedom in that. And then it's like, oh, at least I have a direction now. And I can always repaint it if I don't like it. I hope I bought you enough mute time.
No. Well, this is a writer's prompt that I use. Is I put I have 2 paper bags that are opaque that you can't see through.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll put different things in each bag, and then I'll pull one thing out of each bag, and then I'll write a sentence about it. And I actually wrote a blog post about this. So like if you pull a bottle cap out of one and a rubber band out of the other bag. And so my little story was, a little kid was sitting in class and thinking about the bully on the bus that morning, and she found a bottle cap, and she's like, and she looked at the rubber band on her desk, and she thought this would be a really good slingshot if I wanted to whack this against the bully's back of his head. And that was a little story that you basically made up of 2 distinct objects that are not related to each other. And that writing exercise helps the logjam in your brain. So it might even have it more than likely has nothing whatsoever to do with the topic that you're writing about. That could be a thesis, it could be an opening paragraph of your blog post or whatever. But those 2 bags with weirdo things in them is a really great way to get the logjam open, because what happens is it's basically analysis paralysis is what happens. Is you stare at something so long that it just like zerks out, and your synaptic network just says, you know what?
Nope.
Not going to give anything. Good luck with
traffic
that.
Jam on this 4-lane highway.
Yep, I'm done.
I love that so much. Also, fun fact about me as a middle schooler, I liked to get in trouble with the boys in the class in that because they were misbehaving, not because of anything untoward. Just realized how that could have sounded. I was like a tomboy, and if you have a rubber band, and if you took said bottle cap, or in my case a pen cap usually, or just a rubber band, and actually shot it towards the ceiling above the teacher's desk, it would just land straight down because science. And she couldn't tell who did it. So don't share that with your children.
Yes, things not to do.
Things not to do. On next week's episode, I'll tell you how to turn a Bic pen into a archer, or into a bow and arrow. True story. The hidden talents we all have. Should we do that instead of Magic Hat? What hidden talent do you have, Molly? Oh, there's a train. Ooh, Magic Hat. So yes. So shall we move on to Magic Hat?
Sure.
Okay.
So basically, let's explain. Basically, we started out with the Magic Hat is something that like 2 months ago, I wrote down a whole bunch of random topics based on questions that we get from our clients, or different self-help type of questions, things like that. Sometimes people will email us. You can also type it in the chat or put it in a comment of something that you'd like to chat about. But basically, we put it in the Magic Hat, and then I haven't seen any of this stuff for, again, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever. And we pick something out at random, and then we talk about it. So let's take a look and see what.
Pretend I'm drumming. Make you doing a drum roll.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So this one says, Oh yeah, email us at hello@meetfutureu.com if you have a topic. This one says, and I don't know if you can really read it.
Oops, sorry. Actually, I'll take myself away so that it's
5 ways to challenge yourself
in 2025.
in 2025.
Okay. I'm going to add that. 5 ways to challenge.
Yep, 5 ways to challenge yourself in 2025.
Okay.
So we're already almost into the first quarter of the year, which freaks me out.
Yeah, but like it's, I don't know. Okay, hi. Hello. I'm still learning how to control the cameras here. Yeah, we are almost an entire quarter into this year, and I know that a lot of people.
I'm excited.
Oh, oh, Molly's frozen. Oh no. Oh, is she back? Oh, she's back. Oh, nope.
Am I there?
There she is.
See if I can do this.
You're freezing, but yes. So
bizarre.
Yes, we are already almost done with the first quarter of 2025, and I know a lot of people create New Year's resolutions, right? And then but like literally 80% have fallen off the wagon, so to speak, by the third week of January, which I'm sure we've all experienced that, especially since it's 80% of the population. And then on top of that, some people will, instead of doing New Year's resolutions, wait until Chinese New Year, which I love that idea. It's like using January as just like ease in a little bit and go with the Chinese New Year. Some people even start with spring, which is coming up on Thursday for us. So
I actually don't do my New Year until September.
Until September. That's so interesting.
Well, it's because
good for business planning if you're trying to plan your budgets for the next year.
It's for me, it always seems like it's the start of a new year of school. And I don't know. For me, fall always seems like my new year. So I set some things in January, but I really don't.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You could start tomorrow, and I don't care when tomorrow is for you. You start whenever you want to start.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's all just whatever works for you. And that's really interesting. I've noticed over the years, and maybe it is just out of habit, so to speak, like pun intended, from being, a middle schooler and, high schooler, college age, and school starting in September all the time, or, depending on what kind of school you go to. Around that time, I do still get like this sudden wind of like, I'm gonna work out more, or I'm gonna do XYZ, which then by the time the first true snow falls, and then I'm like, I'm gonna hibernate, which is also healthy. But yeah, so Molly, so
5 ways to challenge yourself. Oh, pardon.
No, that's what I was gonna segue. So 5 ways to challenge yourself.
Sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, I was going where you were going. Oh no. Your sound went away again. Gosh darn it. So I don't know why we keep not being able to hear Molly, but I don't think she can tell that we can't hear her. And so I'm going to try to pretend like I know what Molly was thinking and what wanted to say. I am very curious to hear more about what she typically does in September. Maybe at some point it will come back, but now it says you're unmute. Now it says you're muted. There you go. Oh, I heard something.
I keep getting this message that says another app is using my mic, and I'm like, no, it's not. I don't know.
Is it your headphones?
No, because I turned my headphones off. My apologies about this. It's like there's another app that's using your mic. So I think that you think about challenges, and the ones that work best are ones that you choose. Challenges that you don't choose are usually stressful, but challenges that you choose on purpose are easier to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
So common challenges have to do with strength, mental acuity, resilience, things like that. So um, I would think about things that when you want to think about choosing a challenge, look at something, and this is something we talked about last week with an individual about how this person felt behind the times, or that they'd missed their chance, and blah 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 blah. And one of the things that we said to this individual was, you have something that many people don't, and that's data. You
Yep.
can look at your life and see perspective. Oop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And we were just talking to this person last week, and it was, you could see their energy change instantly when they were like, "Oh, yeah, you're right." Like I don't, someone fresh out of college is not going to have the depth of communication experience or the depth of experience general, period, full stop, and to draw from, and the experiences, the life experiences of interacting with just other humans. I don't care in what capacity. So there's lessons learned there.
Which, by the way, for those of you who just graduated, I want to let you know, I went back to college when I was 37, and I went to school with 18-year-olds who were extremely bright, amazing individuals, smart, committed, focused, whatever. But they're 18. And there's
Yeah.
certain things, and I sound like such a mom right now, but there's certain things that you learn by doing them when you're
Oh,
32 and you've already been divorced once and blah 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 blah. I mean, you don't have that
absolutely.
experience when you're 18, and that's
Yes, and
just
that
because
was my
you
point.
just
I wasn't
don't.
trying to rag on any
Yep,
college age kids because
yep,
I was
just
there.
full stop. Absolutely, my
Yeah,
college was 2.5. But
yeah.
yeah, so but those are pluses, and sometimes I think that that's one
Mhm.
of the challenges that I would encourage, you, dear listener, or dear viewer, is to take a look at the things that you think that are your not what's the opposite of strengths?
Weaknesses?
Whatever you think are your hurdles or things that are holding you back. I
Mhm.
invite you to look at those through the lens of what is the benefit to that. One of the things, and Abraham Hicks had said this a long time ago, like I first heard it, I think, in 2006 or 7. But they said sometimes you have to live in a house with no closets to know that you want closets.
I love that.
And I've heard that so many times in my head since. It's that sometimes you have to experience something that you don't want
Yeah.
in order to define what you do want. And so those are some challenges. Again, I just invite you to look at what you think you don't have
Mhm.
and look at it from the lens of, why don't you have it? Do you really want it?
Yes.
Anyway, this is again tangent number 805.
I don't think that's a tangent at all. I mean, that's about
Excuse me.
how to deal with challenges. I don't necessarily like, I'm not trying to like be contrarian for the sake of being contrarian, but going back, looping it back to our conversation earlier at the top of the hour where we were talking about why we both stopped reading Men Who Hate Women, is also, if you don't want to be challenged in 2025 any more than we already are, I'm gonna say that's one of the number fives, or like, one of the five that we talk about. That's also okay. Give yourself grace.
So I actually wrote a blog post about the pandemic back in 2002.
Mhm.
I
Yep.
think it was 2002 when I published this. Is like, because I saw this one thing that really pissed me off on LinkedIn, and it was like this, I call it hustle porn, where
Yeah.
this guy is like, if you don't know another language by the time this is over, if you haven't
Oh,
done this, blah blah blah, and I'm like, and this is actually a brule,
yeah.
but I was just like, dude, do you understand what's required to just survive
Yeah.
something of this magnitude? And
For real.
so, again, to your point, the post that I wrote is that, ambition is out and maintaining is in.
Yeah.
There's a skill to maintaining equilibrium. So and especially for people who are empathic, if
Yes.
you're an empath, there's an absolute physiological impact of being an empath.
Yep.
So for those of you who are not empaths, I'm telling you right now, I'm empathic, and I'm not as empathic as some. But one of the reasons why I'm good in sales, all false modesty aside, is that when I'm around other people, I can really sense the vibe.
Oh yeah.
In a way that some other people may not. And so that's an empathy thing. And when you are going through, to your point, Christine, the blender of, this, everything.
Like I love the wave of hand. You're going through. Yeah, it's just let yourself just exist. That's okay. That is okay on most days, if not all days.
And that's a challenge in and of itself. Challenge yourself to be okay with letting it go.
Yes.
Especially if you're someone who is like, I should be doing this. We're going back to our shoulds. Let those
I
go.
really do need to make that a t-shirt. Don't shit on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't. Should is a dirty word in my world. Again, a lot of this is going back to like I'm noticing a lot of like we have a lot of like counterculture kind of themes, for lack of a better term, but like it's like you don't have to do what everyone says you have to do. I'm here for it. Ways to challenge yourself. If there is something that you do want to change, get better at, anything like that, I would just I think this ties in really well with our topic that we were planning on today for talking about habit stacking. Work backwards. First of all, like why do you want to do this thing? Let's just say eat better. I don't know. Let's say you're gonna try to get more greens in your diet. Let's go with that. And well, why do you want to do it? Because your doctor said so? That's okay. But do you really want to do it? Is it because you will live longer and be able to see your children grow up or live to see your grandchildren? That's a fantastic why. Or, if you're like me and sans child, your puppy, that's a fantastic reason why. So figure out why you want to do the thing, whatever that challenge is. And then figure out, well, how are you going to do it? Okay, first you're going to have to make a grocery list. What greens or veggies are you going to actually buy? How are you going to make them? When are you going to make them before they spoil? So actually list these things out. And that might sound like overthinking it, but what is it? A wish without a plan is a dream. Yeah, it's not just gonna happen, right? You're not just gonna automatically get more fiber in your diet or get your whatever number of servings on your plate of veggies per day if you're not literally taking these steps through. And I think a lot of people take that for granted and oversimplify it of well, I'm just gonna eat more veggies. All right, you have a back-to-back meetings on Thursday. Tell me how you're gonna fit in lunch to begin with, let alone a healthy one. That's life. Molly, were you gonna add to that?
Basically, I just wanted to let everyone who's listening know that I did not know that I liked Brussels sprouts until I was 42, and I'm actually kind of pissed about that. Because when I was a kid, we boiled them in our house, which is like eating snot. It's disgusting.
It really is.
I never knew you could roast them with a little bit of olive oil and some garlic and a little bit of sea salt. Holy potatoes, they're freaking delicious.
Oh, and you
I
put
was
them in there with
angry that I lost decades of broccoli sprout eating. Anyway, or Brussels sprout rather, not broccoli. But anyway,
broccoli's great too. I have
FYI, to your point, learn how you like them, or figure out ways to, or get what I do is I also bought a one of my pandemic purchases was a food dehydrator. Ooh. And so a lot of the things that I dehydrated collard greens, which are super good for you, but they're kind of they're an acquired taste.
Okay.
But I put sprinkled collard greens in casserole or in smoothies, and you don't really taste them, but your body doesn't care.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
I will put spinach in any shake I make if I can throw it in there because it doesn't really change the taste. I mean, if you put too much of it in, obviously it's going to, but yeah, just throw a handful of spinach in whenever you can. But also, yeah, say I had the same experience with Brussels sprouts. I discovered that they're extra delicious when you put them in bacon. Or you put bacon in them, roast them with bacon and onion. Yeah, that'll make any veggie taste great. So there's that. And yeah, I'm gonna say it still counts even if it has bacon in it. Sorry, vegans. Bacon's delicious. Um, I'm sassy today. Maybe it's the Portillo's. I did not have a hot dog with ketchup on it though. I had a chicken sandwich.
do you have one of their chocolate? This is not a. That's not a plug.
No.
This is not. This is not product placement. Although
Portillo's,
Portillo's,
Portillo's, if you want to
dude,
sponsor
just
self-care,
say, dude, give us a call. Send us a check.
yeah,
We're
Mr.
totally
and
on
Mrs.
board with that.
Portillo.
Their chocolate cake is freaking delicious.
Yeah, and the chocolate cake shake, y'all. If you have not been to Chicago, you have to come to. I almost got super Chicago in. I'm like, you got to get over here to
Really
to
good.
to have yourself a cake shake. They put an entire slice of chocolate cake in the shake. Granted, it's like literally 2,200 calories. Share it with a friend. Do it once a year. It's not an all the time thing. Just like deep
Very
dish
good.
pizza is not an all the
Very
time
good.
thing. Anyways, come for the self care tips. Stay for the random food and Chicago facts. So
We have lots of random food Chicago facts. I mean,
oh
seriously,
yeah,
there are so many good places to eat in this town, and so many
yes.
things that are really delicious to eat in this town.
Fun fact: I literally just learned like 2 days ago. There are 7,300 restaurants in
Oh
the
my
city of
god,
Chicago.
I'm never gonna eat that many. I just there's no way
Oh,
I'll ever hit them all.
oh no.
Damn.
Um, yeah, they were doing. I saw this was from Instagram. They were quizzing people in Miami about how many restaurants, and someone said like 150. I was like,
Mm,
it's a town of, well, it's a city of 3 million people. There's more than 150 restaurants. Anyways, um, other challenges. I think we had four. I feel like might have hit five.
okay, so 5 ways of challenging yourself. You've got mentally, spiritually, physically.
Oh yeah,
Those are like the broad brushstrokes in terms of, is there mentally, is there something that you could learn physically? Is there some
yeah,
sort of a strength that you could acquire or flexibility to your yoga point, mentally, spiritually? And spiritually doesn't necessarily mean going to church. It could also
yes.
mean
Ooh,
exploring,
meditate.
yeah, meditation. Spiritually, mentally, physically. Um, anyway, or it could be,
Yeah.
or a habit, going back to habits,
Mhm,
a habit that you'd like to either establish or eliminate. Maybe your habit could
mhm.
be you might um, be judgmental, and you're like, you know what, that's not serving me. I wanna
Yeah.
challenge myself to eliminate that particular habit.
Mhm.
Or you might want to adopt being more, kinder to people. Again,
Yes.
is a challenge. So just kind of think about those things. But
One
I
of the
do want to.
things.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to add on that real quick. You made me think of it earlier, but either forgot or got distracted. Both are highly likely. Um, the one thing that I think has helped me immensely in changing a lot of my habits internally and like how I talk to myself, how I show up for myself, and how I in turn then show up for others, especially over the past year. And I got this from Christy Marie Sheldon. Um, won't go Google her if you're interested. Um, she, I think I did like a no block November challenge that she had done either last year or the year before. I can't remember. It might have been the year before. And she had suggested to set a reminder on your phone every hour, simply asking yourself the question, how connected do I feel right now? And granted that it has spiritual connotations to it, take it how it resonates for you. I still have that on my phone every hour. It's on my phone. I have an iPhone, sends me a reminder. How connected do you feel right now? And I answer it in my head. I'm like, oh, how connected do I feel? And It could be so general. It could be, how connected do I feel to this conversation with Molly right now? It could be, how connected spiritually do I feel right now? How connected to the work that I'm doing on a larger scale? How connected do I feel to my puppy? How connected, it could be anything. And I absolutely love that. And it's, again, it goes back to the awareness and having a trigger. In this case, it's an external trigger to build that habit and to build that muscle of watching my own thoughts.
That is great. I think that's great because, again, to your point, you already kind of brought it back to the awareness. But it's just that so many times people are not living their life. They are reenacting it. I don't know. I can't explain it, but it's just like one of the quotes. I wrote this in a blog post about Julia Child, but she said, up until I was about 30, I just ate. I didn't really pay attention to the food. And it was just where she put, when she started cooking the food and started seeing how it went from an, an ingredient to something that was on a plate, it really helped her connect the dots, and was one way that she became present with the process of eating. And I find that to be true because I garden, and so a lot of the times I'll put like fresh basil in whatever I'm using or whatever. But I think, again, it just goes to the concept of presence and whether or not you are living, or if you're just, again, walking, sleepwalking. And here's kind of a thing that this isn't exactly a 100% analogous, but, and I haven't driven a car for 10 years because I sold my car before I moved to Chicago. But for those of you who drive, I know that you probably know what it's like to be in a car and kind of like hypnotically driving.
I got home. I don't remember how.
How did I get here? Exactly. And so those are the types of things that a lot of people do when they are living. They are just kind of going from point A to point B without understanding the connection. We're kind of, I don't even know where we are on our agenda because I have no agenda.
Oh, good.
How are we doing?
Can you tell the good people about our guest speaker next week?
Oh, heavens, yes. So Johanna is one of her iterations is Mama Cuisine, and you can see her on WGN. She is on there as a basically, I hate to just say mommy blogger, but um, Joe was one of the original OG. Mama Cuisine was basically creating what blogging could be back in the aughts, but she has since made a pivot. And so she does some of that, but she also has established her own wealth management boutique firm that has to do with helping women understand the connection between their worthiness and how they invest in themselves physically, literally, esoterically. And she's going to be our guest expert next week. Christine, I can't remember the exact topic. She has an actual title, but I really invite you to join us next Wednesday, not tomorrow, but the following Wednesday at 11 o'clock. And she's going to have an amazing presentation. She's got a slide deck, and she's going to walk us through, because one of the things that she's done is she's made a pivot herself, not only in her brand strategy, but as an individual and a woman and a mother. But just, she understands what it's like to be a sole provider, to be the provider for her children, to make sure that everyone is taken care of. But she also understands that women have a number of variables that are not there for men in the wealth gap. Not only do they not make as much money as men do, but they live longer, so they've got, more lifespan to stretch fewer dollars across. Plus, as someone myself who has gone on the mommy track more than once, in terms of, I've had 3 children, so each time I've had a child, my career has taken a detour. And so you have all of these different variables that she'll talk about. But I really would invite you to join. I think Christine's got the collab link
Mhm.
year,
Yep.
and just take a look at it, because it's going to be something that's available to our members. Um, what's the title that she has for that,
Yeah,
Christine?
it's how to find your new identity and financial foundation.
And so again, this is, oh, wait a minute. Boop.
Oh, train. The L's going by. So yeah, so how to find your new identity and financial foundation. I can't think of a better topic, especially with it being tax season. But it's also an evergreen topic that we should always be. Oh, I should everybody. It's ideal if we can always have some sort of foundational financial thoughts going through our brain. That's another way we can challenge ourselves, is how can we be more financially sound.
So I can't remember who said it. I'm sure it's probably a million women have said it, but a man is not a business plan. A man is not a business plan is one
Oh,
of those ubiquitous quotes that has been said by probably more than one woman.
yeah.
But and I say that only because women must understand their own agency in terms of understanding how to allocate those types of things. And that's what Joanna can speak to more specifically next week. But I really, really hope that you can join us there. It's going to be taped and available to members, so that if you can't join it at the live, it'll be available to the collab members at their convenience.
Mhm.
But you have a whole week to join us, and it's really fun. We've got some amazing conversations in the collab,
Yep.
and yeah, the link's on the Who's It's right here.
Yes, and we have a group discussion of some sort or another every week. It's either hot seats, where we get to you get to either present a specific deliverable of some kind, or do, let's say, a mock interview, for example, or simply just have us brainstorm on a specific topic. So that's your designated time where spotlight is on you, at your request. We don't force anybody to go. Um, and so that's one of the weeks. Another week we have our guest speakers, and then the other 2 weeks of the month we designated to where everyone gets a chance to talk about what's going on in their world that week. So that's the group coaching aspect. And there's the entire resource vault that you also get access to, which another thing I meant to bring up earlier when we were talking about habit stacking is we have one of the vault pieces. Molly, maybe you'll remember which one. It was one of our 12 days of Christmas campaign where we just did this like blitz of like, here's a different freebie every day. And it was basically how to, I think maybe the productivity audit, and like basically how do you audit what it is that you're doing to get yourself aware of your actions.
Yeah,
Also the morning routine, I think also has something similar in it. And you're basically doing an audit of what are you actually doing and then where do you want to make a change.
yeah, and those particular things that are the downloadables, some of them have are straight downloadable, kind of a worksheet PDF type things. But there's other aspects in the vault that have to do with videos and walking people through things. But those two items specifically are focused on, again, paying attention to how you allocate your energy. And that was something that I learned as a founder, because everyone wants a piece of you. And also, as someone who's been a single mother, I remember what it's like to have what I call my Velcro babies. The minute you walk in the door, they're right there. And so being able to really allocate your energy in ways that make sense for you, that not only serve you, but they do serve all of the people around you, when you can make sure that you're being taken care of.
Yes, absolutely love that. um I love that. What did you call them? The what babies? That they're following you around? Oh, I won't this save. There we
I
go.
call them the Velcro babies,
Velcro babies. Oh my god, I love that. That's kind of cute.
because I'd walk in the door and immediately they were like connected to my legs, for all of the single mom, well, the moms in general, I suppose. But
Yeah.
so what one of the life hacks that I can give to you guys today, just as an FYI, here's a freebie, is that I took them out to Bed Bath and Beyond or a kitchen store or something like that, and each girl got to pick out her own egg timer.
Oh.
And I kept these little egg timers right
I
by the
already.
door. And I
Uh-huh.
set them for 15 minutes. The minute I walked in the door, and I said, when these go off, you have 100% of mom. But I need 15 minutes to transition from work mom
Yeah.
to house mom.
Yes.
And so because they were able to pick their own timers and they had their own little egg or pepper or whatever, apple, whatever design they had chosen,
Yeah.
they knew that when that went off, they had mom all to themselves. But there's nothing wrong with setting boundaries for yourself. Because
Boundaries are
you don't
self-care.
know exactly, you bet your butt they are. Because when you give and give and give,
At some
there's
point, don't have anything left.
correct.
Yeah. I will. That's another hill I will die on. Boundaries are self-care. If I wanted to have a tombstone, that's what I would ask for that to be on it. Um, but that's fine. Anyways, well, thank you everybody so much for joining us for yet another hour and 15 minutes, apparently, for Empower Hour. We hope you leave inspired, empowered, and I hope we've brightened your day, tangents and all. Molly,
Yeah.
your lighting is extravagant right now.
You know, I'm just glad to be here. That's going on my tombstone. She was just glad to be here.
I love that. I love that so much. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next week.